Hi everyone. So the title of my talk today is Embrace the Unseen and My Road to Truth. Embracing the unseen is something that I came up with in the past few days when I was thinking about what should I talk about and what has been like a personal struggle within myself. And when I realized that I always am a planner. I have 2 planners over there. I'm always trying to make sure that I know everything that's going to happen next. And I've come to realize that's almost in a way pointless because I literally cannot control what's going to happen. I couldn't control the fact that I didn't know where I was going today on the subway, but I ended up in the right place. And that's just something I've come to realize over the course of my life thus far, is the importance of understanding that. So this is just going to go through some of my challenges and some of my passions and just my road to what I consider truth within my life. So first off, this is where I grew up. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and outside there in the suburbs, and definitely had a very big impact on myself. I was born there in 1992 to 2 immigrant parents from Nigeria. My father was originally a pathologist, but when he came to the United States, like most immigrants, they have to pursue menial jobs. So my father, who was a pathologist in Nigeria, was now a cab driver in Washington, D.C. My mom, who had 2 bachelor's degrees, was now a nanny to some of those elite families in Washington, D.C. So just those experiences really influenced who I was and who I am to this day. My mom, in particular, because as I said, my father was pursuing these menial jobs, he actually got sick with cancer of the pancreas. So can you imagine being new to this country, you have no family whatsoever, and you're coming to the United States, and now the person that you moved here for is now sick and cannot contribute to the family. So she was taking care of a family of 4 with a nanny's salary. And what I found so unique about the story is not necessarily a personal struggle, but what she decided to do instead. She decided to utilize her free time that she had to volunteer in her community. This woman technically did not have a permanent residency. She was not a citizen of this United States of America. We were living in Washington, D.C., but she still took the time to use her passions and her gifts to work and help women in sexual assault centers and police stations. So this is a woman that's technically an undocumented immigrant going to police stations to help people in her community. So what that taught me was no excuses. No excuses whatsoever. Whatever your passion is, whatever your talent is, there's no excuse why you can't figure out a way to give back to your community. Essentially, she was implicating herself every single time she would walk into these police stations or these courts to advocate for these women. There are 2 mistakes one can make along the road to truth: not going all the way and not starting. Essentially, in my belief, I think there's 2 choices that you have. You have the choice to act or not to act. It goes back to yourself, but if you see something in your community, I honestly just believe in the importance of trying to act. So the ask. There's a statistic that says that it takes 7 times for a woman to be asked to run for office before she decides to run for office. And I started thinking, I mean, even though I have run for elected office and served in elective office, I was thinking of the greater picture of the ask. Like, who asked me? Why am I doing all these different things that I do? And I realized it was more than that. It was more of like a symbolic ask. I felt like things in my community, things that I would see would influence me. So a lens, the lens that I had, the lens of being able to understand what it's like to be homeless in Washington, D.C., the understanding and the lens to be able to understand what it's like to be the daughter of 2 immigrants, the understanding of being able to know what it's like to be a woman involved in politics. All these different lenses helped to, I feel like, influence what I wanted to do. Now, I don't mean to be cliche, but I have to be. Oprah. Hopefully she's watching. But so Oprah definitely had a big influence on myself. Back in 8th grade, I was watching a show called The Shasta Groney Tragedy. And if many of you don't know the story of Shasta Groney, she was a girl that was kidnapped, but luckily she was eventually found. And beyond just Shasta Groney, there are other people like Jessica Lunsford who their stories were told. And literally after that day changed my life. Only 2 years earlier, I was actually almost kidnapped on my way to school. And I felt like this particular episode was someone saying, asking me, saying, do something in your community, do something now, don't wait. At the time I was in 8th grade and I remember going up to my resource teacher at my school and saying, can I please do this project? And they're like, why? You're in 8th grade, why do you want to study sex offender registries in the state of Maryland? There are loopholes. Like, who decides to do that, you know? And I just begged and pleaded, and they luckily were able to accommodate my schedule, and for 45 minutes every day I was studying this. And it's just so interesting to see how something as simple as a TV show could end up leading to an eventual law being changed within my state and curriculum being changed within my state just by leveraging what was there and just seeing an episode of Oprah. Thanks, Oprah. I guess. So tools, what's helped me? What is it? What have I done? Google is also a best friend of mine. Literally, I have been able to find so many different things just from utilizing Google. Everything from emails to people that I'm trying to reach out to and they don't have their email on their website, to just various opportunities and all these things. When I was researching that as an 8th grader, I mean, I couldn't obviously drive myself to these places. That was definitely a resource. Not having money. I never had any money, and I still don't have money to do all these different projects, but I feel like that's what makes it better, because every single dime that comes into whatever program that we're working on, we know that it was through blood, sweat, and tears, and I feel like that creates like efficacy as well, is because you know that there are people supporting you, and it's not only about yourself or about the people that you're helping, it's also about those people that have invested in you as well. So even if you don't have literally $1 to do any of these things, do it anyway. The money will follow eventually. And persistence, definitely persistence. There have been times that I've cold called, there have been times that I've showed up at places that I technically didn't have a meeting yet, but those are the things that you have to do in order to get things accomplished. Because literally, especially being young people, it's definitely difficult because sometimes people might not take you as seriously, but you in a sense have to prove yourself in that sense, but persisting always works. And failure. Lots of failure. These are some of my favorite failures, actually, that actually helped me to become a better person, or to even just take a step back and realize different things. And I have to be determined because I know I'm going to fail hard and fail again. But some of the ones that I will tell you about were probably, how about the class presidency of my high school in 9th grade? So I was so excited. This was like the fall of 9th grade. I had all my friends and we made these really cool posters, and now we were gonna go and we were gonna take over our school and do all these great things. And I failed miserably in that election. And what's unique is that literally 6 months later, for the next year, I ran again in my school and I lost again. So that's twice in 2 years. Or no, in 1 year, excuse me. That was twice in 1 year. Oh gosh. But that didn't stop me there. So then over the summer, I was like, you know, I'm gonna try sports. You know, maybe I should do something new. So I tried out for like field hockey. Didn't work out at all. So then I had even more free time because I wasn't doing politics, I wasn't doing sports. So literally, I just decided that instead, I would just work on other clubs that didn't require you to apply, so I would just show up and volunteer. And it's funny because that spring, I was actually, that's when I was elected to the school board of education within my local community. So I failed so many other times before that happened. So I guess just in emphasizing the importance of failure, at least within my life. So where am I now? What am I up to? Why am I here today? Today in Congress, 17% of its members are actually women, whereas 83% are men. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to know the statistics of the population of the United States, but unfortunately, that's not it. And why is that? Why aren't there women running for office? I mean, I said that it sometimes takes 7 times for a woman to be asked to run for office before then, before they actually choose to run for office. But what is it? Studies have shown actually that the younger you run for office, the better off and the more likelihood that you'll actually run for Congress and bigger and better things. And what I started realizing was it wasn't only in politics, also in business, except worse. So Fortune 500 CEOs, only 2.4% of them are women, whereas 97.6% are men. I love men. Men are cool too, but we have a problem here, right? Why is this? Why is it in politics and business, 2 areas where decisions are made, whether that be policy-wise or whether that be through international markets, why are there not women there? And then I started looking even deeper. So what about other areas? Places where women are traditionally more involved in those areas. And there weren't women leaders there too. So literally I was like, why? So I got it through my friends and we decided, and we started looking at what made the difference for us. Why were we, in a sense, leaders? And what we came up with was that we started young, going back to that original statistic. And so then we thought, okay, so what programs are there? Where can we volunteer? Where can we give back to our communities and try and create them? And then we couldn't really find any that were being run by young people for young people. So the solution was to try and figure out a way where we could help girls and women here in the United States as well as abroad. So we founded the FoundHer Program, which essentially works with college students and high school girls in the Boston area, and we provide them opportunities to think critically and act civically. We do everything from financial literacy to supplemental activities with local programming partners, to coming to college campuses, to actually providing our students with an opportunity to start making changes now. One of our students in our pilot program this year actually just got a grant from the United Way of Boston to create her program on working towards finding ways to help alleviate anorexia nervosa and within her community. So this is just a girl who's in 9th grade already doing this. Imagine what she's going to be doing in 5-10 years from now if we started investing young. So these are some pictures of some of our events. I'm Nigerian, as I said earlier, and I had the opportunity to go to Nigeria for the first time in 1999, and I went to different schools to talk to people, because I was curious, like, what is it like to go to school in another place? So what I kept hearing from people was like, okay, so I really want to go to school, but what are the barriers between me getting to school and staying outside of school? And one common thread was the fact of wealth, along with other factors, but one of the biggest one was wealth. So we were thinking of how can we make it easier for people to go to school? And it was all in a uniform. Something that I take for granted, many people take for granted, prohibits people from going to school. Something that is so cheap when you think about cost in a developing country can prohibit someone from not going to school. So what we realize is that all economics is local. Stealing from Tip O'Neill that all politics is local, all economics is local, especially in these developing countries where there are a lot of informal markets. So we thought of how can we, number one, get uniforms to girls that need it, and number two, help out economically. So we essentially had a plan. Actually, a week ago today, we had our Taking Back the F Word Symposium, Feminism, at Boston College. And what we did was we brought together college women from across the city of Boston that were interested in changing the world. Each of them paid money to attend the symposium. However, 100% of the money that we got, we actually used it, and we're using it to hire textile factory workers to create uniforms for girls in Nigeria. So that way we can get them to go to school, and then we're also participating in the economics of the country. So this was all done literally with just a piece of paper and just a group of people that were like, let's do this. We literally had no money, but we applied for grants and we got funding. We had lots of no's and we had lots of yeses at the same time. And now we're being able to actually create sustainable change. And now we're even having funders for the next cycle and potentially expanding this to other cities across the United States. So this is literally just a plan that started off with a piece of paper. So the idea, again, is to go back to that idea of just whatever your idea is, do it. And if you fail, fail again and keep doing it. Keep being innovative, talk to people. Again, it is just really important. Even with the event last week when we had different speakers, all of them came for free. Some of them were actresses. We had people from business, the arts. We had people that have started their own companies to people that work in nonprofits. All these people converging together was really just a powerful symbol of just the importance of understanding how you can make change even with literally no money. And these people just donated their time, their efforts, and I encourage you all to do the same. But that's my talk. Thanks.